Today's word is friendship. I'm not entirely sure how to approach this one. There are the friendships you forge through games. A common interest is often a route to a really strong friendship, and if you have a regular meetup to play your games, or you played games together as a kid, you have quite often a really strong bond with those people that you play with. I guess because you kind of expose your desires and your interests and your aspirations through the forms of the stories you tell and the characters that you play to one degree or another, or the things that you're interested in exploring, or just your openness to exploring and understanding. And weirdly, though you're not yourself for a great deal of the time that you're playing games, it does create a sense of intimacy and understanding. It's a bit odd in that way. I mean, you're all playing a part, as we're all playing a part every day, every way, amongst different audiences and so on. And yet, because you all know you're playing a part, somehow that's disarming. So I could talk about that, I just have. Or I could talk about how friendships work in games. Characters, particularly adventurers in kind of conventional games, aren't necessarily friends. They're compatriots, allies. They get kind of thrown together to deal with adversity or in the pursuit of cash or whatever else. And perhaps this is why there's often intra-party conflict. Someone else wants that magic item that you picked up, or you have different goals because you made up your characters independently, something that a lot of indie games do away with by making character creation more of a cooperative enterprise. Not sure I necessarily like that. I would rather each individual player be happy with their character, and the group dynamic will then emerge naturally over time as you play. It's more difficult, perhaps, but I think it's a more satisfying mode of play. But then if we look at the fiction from which we draw all our stories and characters and everything, friendship is a really powerful recurring theme. You can look at the Fellowship of the Ring in sort of the archetypical nerd story, The Lord of the Rings, and there is a deep friendship between the various members of the Fellowship, most notably between Sam and Frodo. And while people have put a kind of Batman and Robin homosexual veneer over that, it's more of an old form of male friendship. But these people would do anything for each other. The quest is obviously the overriding theme, but the friendship and the respect and the love that develops between the members of the Fellowship over time is also, I think, a key theme. Comrades in arms, And if you look at C.S. Lewis, they're brothers and sisters or cousins or whatever. There's a bit of conflict, particularly with Eustace, but there is a friendship that develops over time, not just between each other. Siblings, you don't get to choose your siblings, so you don't necessarily get on with them per se, but between them and other characters like Reepicheep or Mr. Tumnus or whoever else. If you look at cop dramas and so on, the friendship dynamic, sometimes the romance dynamic, or the will they won't they dynamic is often there. You look at Sherlock, which really fortunately didn't go down the romance route, but you look at that and that's an interesting friendship dynamic that has developed over time from comrades into friendship. And so it goes for pretty much everything. Look at Bones as a procedural forensic series. All these disparate people, but they become closer and closer friends, become to rely on each other and each other's special skills and so on over time. That's more like a gaming group dynamic. And yet we don't spend much time concentrating on that in games, forging those bonds of friendship between characters, considering how the character feels about the other people in the group rather than how we as players feel about the other players in the group. And I think that's worth considering and prioritising a little more. I don't think I'd go so far as to make mechanics around it to forge those bonds of friendship between characters. And I'm still not entirely sold on group design as the kind of session zero, but it's still worth considering.